Good morning.
Morning.
Happy Friday.
Yes.
Yeah. So good morning, everyone. I am Donna Stroll, and I'm here with the beautiful Rose Short. And today on the Dark Roast, we are going to tackle the thing called stories, and for both Facebook and Instagram. Now, most of you or most everybody, I think, knows that Instagram has been monetizing their stories for a while. But it seems like Facebook is now caught up and decided to do the same thing, which is awesome.
Yes. Super excited about that.
So we're just gonna go into some information because that 15 to 30-second little blip can actually really help build your business. Whether you're doing affiliate marketing or you're actually building out your brand, any of those things, it's a great way to just add an extra stream of income, and a way to do some quick sales without a lot of, hopefully, not too much stress.
Yes, they are fantastic because they are quick, they are simple, and there are people who just get on to look at stories because they don't want to get caught up in the feed and all that stuff because you're going to see people you follow. You don't tend to see a lot of, at least I haven't seen a lot of recommended for you type stuff. So a lot of people use it just to catch up with whoever they're following. So 500 million people plus use IG stories daily. Facebook is getting up there. They're now reaching 300 million plus, which is awesome. And then, of course, like Donna just said, they're rolling out monetization tools, which is super, super important for anybody who's already monetizing their Facebook via, Reels or post engagement, all that kind of stuff. This is going to be awesome, especially if your stories do get a lot of sight and a lot of engagement. They have high top of feed placement, right? Because you see them at the top before anything else. And again, some people just go through the stories because they want to catch up with their people without all the noise of the feed, especially right now with how crazy the feeds are getting.
What?
Yeah. It's easy to create a sense of urgency with the stories because they're so short. And then, of course, authentic bite-sized content, right? So this is where a lot of people get it wrong, is everything they share as a post, they automatically share to their story. And people that are going through stories, they don't necessarily want to see that. What they want to see is like your day to day. They want to see the lunch you had, the like quick blurb of what is going on that day. And so it's a really great way to connect with people on a deeper level than like the super long, curated, thought out posts, and things like that. So you're kind of selling more of like your lifestyle versus your product, but you could also sell your product with it, right? So like my Be Fit stuff is great for stories because I can just post a real quick model video and then it's over with. So there's tons of different ways you can use stories. They're much better to create on your phone versus the desktop version. I will say the desktop version's not as lucrative, I've
It
found.
doesn't give you as many options either, I find. Like
Yeah.
I can, like, just to like even turn a picture into more of a real kind of thing. You can't do that on the desktop.
Yeah.
You can't add a lot of information. You can't do a lot of the filters and fun stuff. So, I mean, the stories are definitely geared more towards your mobile versus your
Yeah.
desktop.
Yeah, and you can create story content in Canva. I would just say if you're gonna do that, keep it down to like 10% of your story content because again, stories should be your authentic self, quick calls to action, stuff like that. It shouldn't be, a lot of over the top ad looking type graphics and things like that.
So there are key strategies for both of them. So we'll start with Instagram. Obviously, Instagram stories have been around. I mean, Facebook stories have been around too, but Instagram seems to have really geared itself towards that, quicker. So they've got things like swipe up links, your interactive stickers, you've got your highlights, where you can save, because they do scroll away in like 24 hours, right? So if it's something that you like, you can create a highlights for specifically that. So there are some things that you can do. So yeah, utilize your swipe up links. For accounts with access, swipe up links can directly guide the people who are watching it to your affiliate products, which make it super easy for your purchase journey, especially if you're using Instagram, the store version of it as well, so that it can just go directly to your buy nows and whatnot. You can leverage content because you can use polls, you can use quizzes, you can use Q&As. Like I've got all those little stickers that give you the option to do those kinds of things to help you boost your engagement. And just gather some insight from your audience, what's sticking and what's not. Like we just said about story highlights. That way you can make it a permanent fixture. Like, how you have all those little highlight buttons. You can create your fancy little button and then sort everything out. Especially if you're going to be, if Instagram is your main platform, if you haven't really looked into that, please do. Because when you start off, it's just a canvas, right? It's a blank canvas. And then you have the option to brand it and do all the things that you need to do to make it work for you. And highlights is a great way to save some really awesome stories that you have. And you could have literally a highlight that's just straight lifestyle, one that's tips and tricks and all that kind of stuff. Um, Visual storytelling. So you want to use high quality images and videos, especially if you're going to be showcasing any of your products, especially if you're going to be doing any how to's or, how I use this or any of that kind of stuff. It's a good way to showcase that without being salesy, you know, and engagement rate is another thing. Influencers on Instagram see an average of 2% engagement rate on affiliate links, which is pretty consistent, across all of them. But if you're adding it, you got your stories on top of your daily content. That's, now you've got 2% here and 2% there. And every little bit of engagement is better for you, right? As a person who's trying to make money online and build up your brand and, engage your audience and get them moving. This is an excellent way to do that. It's just a nice extra little finger on the hand.
Love it. Yes. And then Facebook. So again, Facebook stories have been around, but they have not nearly been as prominent as Instagram stories. But with Meta making changes to try to keep people on the platform, there's some exciting things coming for us, right? So just like Reels, monetize your views. So you can now earn revenue just from people watching your stories, but also engaging with your stories. You can also do interactive content on Facebook stories now with polls, questions, countdowns to content that's coming, stuff like that, which is really cool. Again, keep in mind it's only around for 24 hours, so you will have to, kind of continually update. Facebook's targeting audience is fantastic. We all already know that, and they're weaving that into their stories now. So if someone sees a story similar to this, like content you would put out, they are going to start, I believe, recommending stories now as well, which they're not really doing at the moment, at least from what I've seen. I could be wrong. Feel free to correct me. And then, again, content performance. So earnings are driven by how it's performing, how many views you're getting, is it engaging, is it relevant, all these kind of things. So as with Reels and stuff, obviously be careful not to get in trouble with Facebook and keep it to the community guidelines, which is something that I probably need to work on because right now I'm using stories to get my political anger out. So I actually
I'm using threads for that.
Okay, fair enough. I need to revamp my what's the word strategy here, but and it does give you quick insights too, and those insights are at the top as well when you open your profile. So that's kind of nice because it's a quick glance at how those are doing versus having to go into your actual dashboard.
Yeah. Getting those quick insights is always nice because it gives you a little bit of a boost as well. And I don't know if Facebook does it, but I know with Instagram, if you do it and you look at it, it will tell you where your views are coming from. So maybe it says it has 6 views, but if you posted the same Like if you had put your story on Insta and then you did it also on Facebook or vice versa, it shows you where that traffic is coming from, if it's coming from Facebook or Instagram, which is a good thing, because maybe your stories are landing on one and not so much on the other. And so, that's a good thing to note as well.
Yeah, and if you've set it up correctly in Account Center, when you share a story on one, Instagram or Facebook, it will share to your other one as well, as long as the
Yeah.
formats are the same. So
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes uh, the only issue that you might find is if you put music on it, because
mhm.
sometimes the music doesn't cross platform.
Yeah.
But, that's just one problem. Um, but yeah, I don't try not to get too crazy with the sounds, but
I always try, but sometimes they
yeah,
just
and I
wouldn't be
mean,
fun.
always check it out. Like the last story I posted, for whatever reason, my text kept doubling up on me. So I had like, I've got green text and white text saying the same thing, scrolling along, not making any sense. Yeah,
Oh,
that's.
geez.
It's like, well, it's 24 hours, whatever.
Right. Yeah, I tend to keep mine just pictures for the most part, but I should start utilizing some of these scenes that we're talking about.
So there are some actionable steps that you can take for both platforms, because it's going to be, either way, it's going to matter. So, you know, you got to use like the 4 frame formula, which is basically your hook frame, asking your question, your bold text, your attention grabber, whatever's going to pull people in, because it's just like a reel, right? In that sense, it's short. Your value, what your benefit, or did you know, especially if you're utilizing this for sales, right? Your offer frame, if you're going to make an offer, you're going to show the product or the service or whatever it is that you're doing. And then your call to action, which is tap here, swipe up, link below, blah, blah, blah. Now, so those are the 4. That's if you're going to do specifically, if you're going to be doing some selling in your stories. That's more of a hard sell than a soft sell. But you can still utilize this same concept for soft sales.
Yes, ma'am. I think you can tie ManyChat integration to your story as well.
Oh, that's interesting.
That could be wrong.
Maybe. So the next thing you want to do is leverage those stickers, especially the link one, because that's super helpful. Even like that's one of the things that I do like about Instagram, is being able to drop that link and have the link sticker, and you can edit what it says. You can just have it be the link, or you can actually change what it says, which is actually really nice, because maybe you want to link it to a blog post, or maybe you want to link it to a free download, or maybe you just want to link it to your directly to whatever it is you're selling. Having that link in there and being able to do that is actually kind of cool. It's a
Yeah.
nice way to do it. And you can do it really simple, like you can tap for my favorite this, or it doesn't have to be like just a straight link to a website. You can splash it up a bit, make it more fun, give people a reason to tap because they're curious. Playing on that curiosity with that link option is awesome.
Yeah. And then personality, right? Like again, authenticity. So, you can use the talking head clips in this instant to build trust. Show you using the product or wearing the product or whatever it might be. Or a quick like, hey, this is how you do this screen record. But it becomes a recommendation more than a promo and more than the paid ad. And so like if you don't want to do ads or, too much product promotion in like your YouTube channel or something like that, you can do it here. Polls, quizzes, sliders. We've talked about how to use quizzes before to lead gen. The more interactive your story is, the greater the tendency to boost, as long as people are actually interacting. So utilize all these scenes. Like treat your stories as more than just a 26-second blip. I think they're 26 seconds. Treat them as another way to post, but again, post authentically. If that makes
Yeah.
sense. And then again, it's like story highlights, right? So I love the highlights section of Instagram. Although I will say I have an issue with like when it loads slow and I try to go to my Reels page, I always hit a highlight and it opens up my highlights. But it's also a good way to like, remind me that I need to make sure they're fresh, right? And so if you've got multiple products that you're affiliating for, maybe you've got one that's coffee, and then one that's fitness equipment, and then one that's, travel tips, and like you can name them all, you can make them what they are, and then think of them in the forms of like a playlist on YouTube, right? It's the same kind of concept. Must-haves, deals, anything like that. It's kind of your evergreen stuff, right? So it shouldn't be, I wouldn't necessarily use them as, like Black Friday sale type stuff or anything like that, but something that people can just go look at real fast, and then, kind of know what you're about and what products you have, and keep it nice and simple.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I say it's good to have like your day in the life, just if people really want to figure out who you are. If you do a lot of how to's, it's a good place to drop, if you're doing really quick, dunk information, it's a good place to do that. So it's like soundbite information for people that they can just go click and see everything that you've got to provide. So yeah, it's really nice that way. Um, and you want to make sure that you're mixing that soft promotion with the direct buy now kind of stuff, so, and your mixes wants to be weighted towards that soft content, your lifestyle, behind the scenes tips, humor, just making people want to get to know you. That's where your know, like, and trust comes from. That's where, your authenticity is. That's where people are getting to know you and feel, comfortable with who you are, and actually looking forward to some of that what you're providing. And then you can do the other percentage. So, it could be 70/30, 80/20, where you're doing a more direct product shout outs, unboxings, if that's what your thing is, offering promo codes. That's where you're going to do that. Because you're not trying to do a hard push in your stories so much as you're trying to bring people into your world and giving them opportunities at the same time. But again, if you're doing a balance, um, it'll be a lot easier to get them to click those links and to ask those questions and do that sort of stuff, versus if just like on your page or just like in your blog or anything else, if all you're doing is hitting people over the head with the hammer of buy now, buy me, buy my shit, they're going to tune out super fast. So you have to give them a reason to want to be there, to want to pay attention, and to not just click through, and try and get through as fast as you can. I think it's important to also say that there's a limit. Like, when I'm going through stories, if someone's got like 15 stories, I'm not, no, I'm just not. I can't, right? I'm usually maxed out at about 4, because sometimes they'll break it out into like one story into 4, or maybe even 5 if it's a very continual. But if it's like 15 different stories, I'm like, no, that's too much for me. Moving on.
Yep. And they're super easy to scroll through too. So
Yeah. Yeah. And then, our favorite thing, track what works. Those insights are there for a reason, right? Make sure that you're paying attention, and, monitor those sticker taps and the replies, and see where people are dropping off. I mean, sometimes you can check that, sometimes you can't. I mean, the stories aren't super long anyways, but if people are dropping off, like if they're not actually watching, like they're getting in there, but they're getting out as fast, that's a problem, right? I mean, we all have short attention spans, so your goal is to try and keep them there for a little bit longer, right? And so that just means that you have to be a lot more personable and really give them a reason to want to be there. And that's really, that's what your metrics are all about.
yeah, exactly. So if you're monetized already on Facebook, the Facebook story monetization should automatically go live on your account. But go ahead and keep an eye on your Creator Studio or your Meta Business Suite just to be safe. If you're not monetized yet, don't worry. Once you monetize, that should also be automatically included. So super excited to see how that changes my monthly income from Facebook monetization, because I am monetized here on Facebook. And, it's a nice little payout every month.
Every dollar counts, right? And the more dollars
Exactly.
you have coming in from more different ways, the better your bank account looks. So,
Yep, exactly. And we can use Canva, of course. They do have templates for Instagram stories and things like that. But again, make sure if you're building anything in Canva, one, it sticks to your brand, right? Don't use a bunch of colors that are not part of your branding. Make sure it's visually consistent. And again, sprinkle that in through your authentic content. Don't make your entire story curated content. That's not going to get views.
yeah,
Um,
I mean, and I think, sorry, I just wanted to say, like with Canva, you can use it as the structure, right? You don't necessarily have to use everything that's within it, right? Like maybe the structure of it or the colors or whatever fits for you, and then you're putting in yourself. So you
mhm.
can still do a story that has the Canva template, but it's not, you don't have to necessarily use it for just the sales. You can do it more for the branding aspect of it so that you can keep it, consistent throughout more than anything else.
Yeah.
And then, like you were saying, repurpose, wisely. You know, you can post your IG story, save that, and then upload that to your FB story, or you can have it like cross platform, so that it's automatically posting. You just have to go and make sure that your settings are done that way. And also save it. Like save that little thing, and then you can post that on YouTube. You can post it on TikTok. It might not gain the same level of traction, but you're making it. You might as well utilize it everywhere. And you can download it before you actually post it, so it doesn't have the branding on it, which is super helpful as well.
Hmm.
Um, and I think you can do that on both of them now. It used to be only one of them you could do that on, but now I think on if you make your stories on Facebook or if you make your stories on Instagram, I believe now you can download them before they go off. The only thing I think it doesn't do is allow you to download any music that you've added to it. So you might have to add music separately within a different platform.
Which is okay because a lot of times when you're automatically cross posting, like sometimes it'll be muted or you'll get a copyright strike or something like that. So
And
yeah,
also, different platforms have different music that's going viral or
hmm,
that hits for it. So,
yeah,
what works on Insta might not work on Facebook, and what works on Facebook might not work on TikTok, etc. So,
yeah,
and then bridge pages. So, if your affiliate link is kind of messy, obviously we talk about using your link shorteners, and then maybe having a landing page or a link tree, something like that. So, for better conversion and tracking, depending on what your needs are, because you don't want to make it messy for people if they're going to take the time to click your link. You want to make sure that it's easy for them to navigate and also doesn't look really terrifying because those really long affiliate links are not your friend. But
no,
that is why Bitly and
link
Pretty Link and
shortener,
stuff like
yeah,
that are available, is so that you can reduce it and make it less of a mess.
yeah. And then similar to your reels and stuff, we talk about this all the time because so many people watch stuff on Facebook, YouTube, whatever, on silent, especially if you're in a public space. Do not blare your stuff out in public spaces. That drives me insane. But to help people not do that, use closed captions. Like there are so many stories that I've watched that like the hook is good, but I'm like I don't know what you're talking about, and I'm not turning my phone up because I'm not in a space where I can do that. And so like there's a lot that I'll just scroll off of because there's no closed captions. So, most people do watch without sound and make it friendly for them.
Yeah. And also, I mean, the reality is that to not have the captions is kind of ableist. You're
Yeah.
assuming that people can hear what you have to say or what you have to do, and maybe they can't.
Yeah.
So, like, how hard is it to put in captions? And they don't have to be super fancy. I mean, the fancy ones are nice, but honestly, it's not necessary. And all of those, like both Facebook and Instagram, have easy captioning, so
Mhm.
simple. And if it's even simple to make it pretty if you want to, or you can just go with their standard basic captions and just do that. um, and you can make them bigger or smaller so they're not taking over your entire, story. Just, yeah, I'm a big fan of captions, and I get really annoyed when people don't put them on there.
Same.
Um,
And they don't have to be perfect, right? If the caption's not quite picking up what you're saying, as long as it's not, really twisting your words, it's fine, because that might get you engagement, right? Someone might be like, "Oh, like your captions are off," or something like that. Cool, thanks for engaging. Like,
yeah.
it can work to your benefit.
What is that? Yeah. So, and then, I mean, you can use scarcity language, especially because they are only 24 hours, right? So if you do have something that's a sale or something like that, you can post that and put that in there to get people more, oh my God, I got to get this now, because we do run on the FOMO kind of thing, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's a pretty standard feeling for a lot of people. So stories are a great way to maybe utilize that, because they themselves run out within 24 hours. So it's like, see it, buy it, because it's not going to be there in 24 hours. You can't go back to it. Whereas, you can't save it and move back. So,
And then the sneaky sell, right? Like, we are all about not hammering the sale. If you're sharing a tutorial, sorry, English is hard in the morning. um, you can include the affiliate product casually in the process, right? Like, it could be like, this is how you do this, and oh, by the way, if you're interested, here's the link. But let's go back to this. Like, there's ways to share it without being skeezy, sleazy, nasty, slimy.
yeah. And I mean, I don't really consider that sneaky so much as a soft sell. I mean, you're sharing the information because you believe in it, right? Um, and hey, by the way, we do this, and if you'd like to learn more or whatever, that's not necessarily, to me, that's not a hard sell. That's just being helpful.
Yep.
Um, I know that it can seem sneaky, but it's not. I don't think it's sneaky. I mean, it's pretty out there. You've said directly, so. And then you test, if you are going to do ads, you can test those story ads. So if you've got a link that did really well, in one of your stories, especially, this is why you want to save your stories, by the way. If you find that you've got one that does really well, and you've got a link, and it's done fairly well, then you might want to spend a few dollars and try boosting that, and then you can repost that story with, your link stickers, and boost it and see if maybe that pulls in even more. There are people on Instagram who they literally run their business through stories.
Mm-hmm.
They figured out what works and what doesn't, and then they are able to really get some pretty good sales just through stories. So I think that's kind of a cool thing. And if that works for you, I mean, it's just another avenue, like everything else, right? It's just another avenue. So,
Yep. And then keep in mind, like, Meta, regardless of everything, is still growing. Instagram's ad reach is growing with a 12.2% year over year increase. Facebook has over 2.9 billion monthly active users. And then in 2025, affiliate marketing continues to grow, and platforms like Instagram and Facebook are leading the way, especially with the changes that have been going on with TikTok and things like that. But there's always new platforms coming as well. So it's Facebook right now, well, Meta right now, excuse me, kind of does have the biggest reach for a reason, and it's because they're very good at redirecting and utilizing the algorithms and whatnot. So it's,
yeah,
love it or hate it, it's still a good platform for
and it's
this.
one of the more stable ones, right? Like, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's not that TikTok is unstable, right? Because it did build and grow and everything else, but because of, things that are beyond all of our control, it's iffy. It's not as safe anymore. Because you build your whole business there and you lose it, and there are other places like that. There's platforms like that. I mean, so it's just, Meta is definitely more stable, right? And you've got three different formats of Meta now to be able to use, with the introduction of threads. Some people are killing it on threads, and there's nothing going on there. Their stories are just text, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there's always going to be some other options, and who knows? At some point, something big might come along. I mean, it used to be MySpace, right?
Yep.
And then Facebook came along and obliterated them. But So that is it, and that is all for today. Hopefully that you're walking away with some good information here. You don't need a huge following, right? Your stories are going to be sent to the people who are in your sphere, so you do want to build up that following, but you don't need a huge following. You don't need a lot of fancy equipment to create a story. If you want to, you can do all your stories outside, right? And then, you can always do all the little things like add your stickers and your effects and stuff like that later. You just save them on your phone and then just pop them up when you're ready. And I mean, since they're only 15 to like 25 seconds or whatever, you could maybe film a whole bunch of them. You can bulk do it and then just pop them up when you're ready. So don't overthink it. Don't make it, the next panic thing. Do it. Try to do it consistently, like anything else. Stories are something that you probably, if you're going to really work into your stories, you'll probably want to do at least one a day because they do drop off. But other than that, is just be consistent. And if this episode, sparks some ideas with you and you decide to do some stories, feel free to tag either Rose or myself. We'd love to see it.
Oh,
That'd be super cool.
Yes.
So next week.
Yes. Next week, resource page. How to create a resource page that generates income. So Donna is very good at this. And I'm excited to learn more about it from her.
Resource pages are easy, You just take what you do and you share it. All right. So, yeah.
If you found this helpful, please drop a comment, share, and hit that subscribe button. Your feedback is super helpful in growing this channel.
And of course, if you have any questions or if there's any specific thing that you would like us to talk about, drop that in the comments too. Happy Friday!
Happy Friday, everyone!